Hi everyone, this is Chris Martinson of Peak Prosperity with your update, your weekly update I should say. It's Friday, July 27, 2018. Now, 2018 means that the crash course first came out 10 years ago. The original crash course started in May of 2008 with one of the first videos I released, number one in the what was then a 20 video series, and the last chapter being released in October of 2008, right before the big meltdown began. And so that, at least some lucky timing there, if you want to call that luck, in order to be able to help propel the crash course to a little bit of additional exposure in the world. Hey, look, it's been viewed millions of times, and it's been translated by 12 languages. It really caught on, in part because I was telling the truth. I wasn't sugarcoating anything. I was just telling it like I saw it. Trends that we saw then are fully in place now. And if I'd known how crazy things were going to get back then, I wouldn't have believed myself. If I transport myself back 10 years ago and I say, hey, Chris, the central banks are going to print $15 trillion and, nobody's really going to care. And the mainstream media is going to be totally focused on the wrong stuff, keeping people distracted. We just found out this last week that MSNBC went, and talked about Stormy Daniels 423 times, if I have the numbers right, and did this many articles on Yemen. 0. Hey, the news just came out that under current blockades of the ports by Saudis, who are the allies of the United States, receiving, of course, military help targeting and other weapons and information help by the United States, up to 10 million people are risking starvation death. By the end of this year, 2018. How many articles again? 0 for MSNBC, keeping you up to date with what's really important. Stormy Daniels, right? And I have to laugh about it because otherwise it's just plain tragic. And one of the key things I said in 2008, the catchphrase was, the next 20 years are going to be completely unlike the last 20 years. And the reason I put that phrase in there is because humans do something really well, which is a strength. It's also a weakness. We're very good at extrapolating the future based on what just happened. So you just take a straight line and you draw that, and off it goes. Now, the problem is that sometimes history takes turning points, and having your little straight line doesn't help you. And that's certainly true when it comes to longer term things, like we looked at fisheries management now, and how the oceans are in a state of collapse at this point, not just from the plastics, but from overfishing, from other pressures, who knows, just an astonishing collapse there. Insects, birds, the ecosphere everywhere, water from aquifers. That is a straight line. We should be able to extrapolate that. Hey, only so much water in the aquifer. We're taking it out at so many % per year. Eventually it goes to 0. You think, well, that's easy. We should be able to extrapolate that, have a plan. Nobody ever has a plan for that stuff, right? You just shut the farming down, like is happening in the Ogallala Reservoir right now, all across the Kansas and Oklahoma areas that are fed by that aquifer. So guess what? We humans are not particularly good, once we're in a collective group, at making future plans that really matter. And the media has a distinct role in perpetuating this short-term focus on the wrong things. Things that are absolutely of no consequence somehow rise to the top. The things that are of immense consequence never get talked about at all. But here's the key. Here's the way you can decode this and understand what the formula is that they use. If you are in the business of figuring out how to make more money at something, whether that's blowing up people, creating a toxic, food system, a la the whole Monsanto, Bayer, Syngenta, pesticide world, whatever it is, as long as you're making money at it, that'll probably get a free pass somewhere along the way. But if you were somebody who's daring to point out that there's more to life than that, or that maybe endless growth isn't the right thing, as I do, or all the other ways that people are choosing to show up and say, this system that we are so busy defending is not even the best system, but it's also a destructive system that has its own seeds of destruction built in it, right? So I guess, I don't know, maybe it's not as happy as saying we're all going to be millionaires and have yachts or something like that. Well, look, here's what happened. The world central banks ended up printing enormous amounts of money. They created huge bubbles. Just last week, Adam Taggart wrote a piece for our site, and it was talking about, and this is before the tech meltdown started, saying, hey, this looks overdone. You know, a key investment position, he was saying, you know, if you just look at this and track this short position on the FAANG stocks in particular, FAANG, you know, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, if you look at those FAANG stocks, like they are literally the whole market at this point in time. And of course, they started to stumble recently with Facebook taking a huge hit, and then now Twitter, which isn't part of the FAANG universe, but is part of that tech sphere, and Netflix and all. Anyway, so today, as I'm recording this, we're having a pretty big drawdown in the markets in the United States, especially centered around tech and the small cap stocks. This is what we've been looking for a long time. Listen, credit bubbles always burst. We don't have business cycles anymore. We have credit cycles. This one was due to fail at some point in time. Is it failing now? I don't know. But it absolutely has to fail, and it's going to fail. And so, you know, when, not if, but when that happens, it's going to be really bad this time. And so if you want to check out that, as well as looking at a new report out by Charles Hugh Smith this week, coming out today on Friday, which is talking about how valuation actually does matter. You know, listen, we're not just focusing on the economics and on the financial markets, because we're here to try and figure out only how to help people navigate these markets, because it's money matters. It's because they're a signaling mechanism. They've been used as a signaling mechanism to tell you that all is well in the world, even when all is increasingly and demonstrably not well. Lots of statistics to support that, right? Of course. You know, obesity rates, violence, depression, demoralization, psychoactive drug use, the fact that, you know, the average household can't scrape together $400 for an emergency because they have no savings at all, the complete evisceration of the middle class, which Onion headline just last week, wonderful. It said, middle class running dangerously low on things to be squeezed out of, right? Great headline, because it really captured it. Well, good job, Onion. Those people really nail it from time to time, quite often, actually. So the next 10 years in our 20-year cycle, these are going to be critical. If you don't know what's happening in terms of the credit cycle, ecologically, energy, what's happening in the energy space. Oh my God, there's so much going on right now that could change your world in a skinny minute, such as, well, if Iran actually makes good on its threat to close the Strait of Hormuz, that will change everybody's lives in a skinny minute. We call that $200 a barrel oil. That's amazing. So that will really shift things in a hurry if that comes to pass. But there are lots and lots of things out there that should all individually be wake-up calls, but collectively, no way should we be sleeping through this moment of history. We should absolutely be out there taking notice of these things and saying, hey, we got to start doing things completely differently, starting right now. So one of the ways that we do that at Peak Prosperity, of course, is we will bring the data to you as best we can. I would also invite you, if you're in the East Coast area, particularly in the New York metropolitan area, on September 16th, that's a Sunday, from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock, Adam Taggart, myself, will be spending those 6 hours with people who choose to come and join us there at a summit with David Stockman. And so the former OMB director and Reagan official, and of course a very erstwhile commentator who also believes that valuations matter and debts matter, and he's got all the numbers as well at his fingertips. Great guy. So we're going to be spending those 6 hours together on that coming up in September, on Sunday the 16th. So come check that out too if you want to come talk about all this data. Why? Not to bum ourselves out, not simply to say, oh my gosh, what's going on in the world, you know, this worries me, but so that we can figure out what actions we need to take. Because this credit bubble, when it bursts, is going to be the most destructive bursting in all of human history. Take the great financial crisis, multiply that by some whole number, and that's what we're going to be facing. So that's where we are in this story right now. And of course, I think, you know, we do need a wake-up call. We do need something to say. We have to shift to a new path. And if it takes a financial crisis to do that, great. Then let's have one of those. But I'd rather we could get there and change by insight rather than changing by pain. It's down to you and me to figure out how to change by insight, because it looks increasingly like the larger grouping of people want to be confused, want to be distracted, would rather hear about Stormy Daniels, would rather be upset about things that make no difference in their lives, would rather not be paying attention to any of the things that actually matter. So they got a rough ride coming. But that doesn't have to be you, doesn't have to be me. We can soften the blow to ourselves and be part of the crew that can help provide the solutions, provide help to all these people who, you know, are the grasshopper in the ant and the grasshopper story. And for all the people who want to have and can take individual responsibility for themselves and for whomever else they can help in this future, these are the people who are going to show up on Sunday in September, and these are the people who are our tribe, such as it is at Peak Prosperity. And this tribe of people, not just ours, is growing all over the world, and wherever that's happening, I'm a huge fan of that, because this crowd is hopelessly blinkered right now and really spinning their wheels on all the wrong things for all the wrong reasons. So with that, I'm Chris Martinson of Peak Prosperity. I will see you next week. Please come by Peak Prosperity to check out all of the great content we've got as we navigate these turbulent times. And if you haven't already, please remember to subscribe to this channel and show YouTube that their attempts to throttle voices like mine by limiting our subscriber count. They do it in sneaky ways, by the way, not unlike the way Twitter shadow bans. Please subscribe, and we'll get this message out. Forward this to anybody who you think should hear this message. Until then, I will see you next time.